Hi.
Allyson June Smith, welcome to Buckshot podcast. Thanks a million.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just as a bit prior to hitting record to give the listeners a brief insight into the mind of a comedian. Alison, myself, nothing surprising. You were apologizing. It was like, oh, you apologize. We've all, it's one particular, I came back and there was 3 messages from Alison that absolutely summarize a comedian's day. Can we do another day? No, maybe. Hold on. Yeah, no, that's fine. Scratch that last stuff I was asking for there.
Just stay with the original. I tried to change between 2 days, like what, 10 times? And you've been so lovely. And then we ended up just doing it exactly at the right time. I was still 5 minutes late, though. I am that jerk.
Your hair looks magnificent, though.
Thanks. So that's exactly it. I always forget now that all audio things are also a visual medium. And, you know, I'd like to say I'm just one of these people who just rocks up and is like, yeah, you get me as you get me. But I like to at least do my fringe.
Yeah, listen, I mean, there isn't a comedian alive that doesn't actually go, you know, I mean, yes, I know I look like Beetlejuice, but I'm purposely kind of rocking. I'm that age now where I'm like, I can be Beetlejuice, basically, but I'm well aware that I look like Beetlejuice. And
you're hilarious. You're a man of many looks, though, if I may say, because I did not know that you're a man of many looks. My boyfriend is also a man of many looks. So I saw, it must have been an older picture of you with no stash and shorter hair. And I was like, is that? No, that is the same person. That is the same person. And my boyfriend, the same thing too. He's had a perm. He's got long hair. He had a handlebar for a period of time. He changes it up and people meet him. And I swear the second time they meet him, they're like, I do not know who you are. So you are a man of many looks.
You know, like when stuff grows out of your face, you may as well mess with it. Like, you know, why not? Why? Yeah. But I've gotten like, again, my wife, she's like, do whatever. It looks funny. It's not like you work in a bank, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Just to do whatever. But I've gotten people, like I had a beard before and it was very beardy. It was because I'm not great for tending to it. But I did a gig and this woman who she'd been to a couple of gigs. She's like friends with my mother, but she came up afterwards when she saw my clean face, went, no, too much of a change.
She didn't like it. She was like, I don't know who you are.
It ruined the gig for her. Ruined the gig. She was like, I came for a beard, a wild beard, and now this is not. No. Too much, Tom. Too much.
Well, at least you know your partner loves you. Your partner loves you because she's like, do whatever you want. Yeah. I love you. You can look however you want. Do what you want. I love you. Just keep yourself busy.
Yeah. There's a fine line between love and just, I don't care.
Just get out of my face. Yeah. Do what you want. Yeah. You want to go plait your hair? Go do it. Yeah.
We met for the first time at the Laughter Lounge. We were doing the Dark Night, which is about to come. It's about to be released next week, isn't it? It's going to be streamed next week.
Yeah.
Is it next week?
I believe it is. Yeah. Because they've started promoting on social media's out. So I do believe it is next week. Tickets go on sale.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a night. I mean, one killer after another. It was just so enjoyable. Like, you know, when you're away for stand-up for so long and then that is like just this wave of loveliness. It's just like, oh yeah. Oh, okay. You know, I forgot how much I fucking love watching, being with class. Shredded. It was just brilliant.
Yeah. And different people. So here's the nice thing too, because like, I mean, I don't work with that lineup. I don't get to work with, especially when I come to Ireland, there's always new people that I get to see, new acts I get to see. And I love that. For me, seeing new, I love. And don't get me wrong, I love seeing, comics I've worked before. But because it's a majority of them, and we were all doing material that like we don't necessarily do on the regular, it was a real fun night. It was a real fun night. Yeah.
There's a word and a kind of an Irish word for that. It's called devilment. We all felt it's meaning. It's kind of, it leans. It's a bit bolder than bold, if you know what I mean. But it's not nasty. The word it's taken from the word devil, but it's just devilment. Devilment. And
would I say it devilment?
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
I don't want to try and imitate the Irish accent, so people are like, "What the hell are you saying?" Devilment. Devilment.
Yeah, great. Exactly. Because everybody had that bold look in their eye, like, because essentially we're just out of lockdowns and all the rest of it. And then we get to tell naughty jokes on stage. And, there was there was that kind of vibe.
It was so funny though, because we were given the permission to tell naughty jokes that I think all of us were like, is this naughty enough? Like it was so weird. Literally, because they were like, do this. And I was like, is that naughty though? Like, because now we're so on the other way of thinking where like, you know, jokes, like literally the other day I had a woman put her hand up and say, put her hand up during my set.
She put her hand up like it was a town hall meeting.
Yeah, she put her hand up and I was like, wow, you guys are very polite. She's putting your hand up. And the gig had been going great. And she just put her hand up and I was like, yes, how can I help you? And she was like, I find the jokes you're saying offensive to women. And I was like, it's the joke about earning brownie badges. So you tell me right now how what I am talking about is offensive to women, as this is my life experience. Anyway, it's very interesting. So I find that people now, and my boyfriend always says they forget they're not on the internet. Everyone's so used to being able to comment immediately on their thoughts on things that they forget that there are live beings around them who are like, actually, I don't want your comment. I'm here for this. Like everyone wants to voice their opinion. So it's interesting being in an environment where everyone was like, push that envelope, push the edge. And you're like, are you sure? I don't know. Is this really? Yeah, it was, that was fun. It was a fun night. I can't wait to see the final show.
Oh, it's going to look good. I mean, just in the setup and everything, because, you know, often when there's cameras in a room, the audience can be weirded out a little bit, you know, and they probably were to a small degree. They probably were a bit, you know. Sure. But it was, I think it is going to come out pretty tasty. But it's funny you say that. I was in the Laughter Lounge last night and a woman just sitting there, just piped up. She went, I don't know about that. I went, well, fucking what? There's 150 of us in the room here. Fucking what? Which
one person. Yeah. And it's like she's the one voice. She's decided everyone else is having a good time. Okay, sorry. Go on. What'd she say? Yeah,
that was it. I don't know about that now. But as loud as, and I had to draw attention because everybody could hear. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This isn't the telly. This isn't Gogglebox, you mad mayor. Relax. There are other people around you.
Yeah. It is a catch-22 though, because I was saying this, and I said this, we did a radio thing the other day. There's part of me though that I feel it is interesting to have this, the PC Brigade or this, you know, people call them snowflakes or the millennials or whatever you want to label them as. And part of me says, God bless them, because as a woman in comedy, not that I mean to go as a woman in comedy, we're all people in comedy, but as a woman in comedy, I have to say, there has been resistance to us over the years. Yeah. Like and it's so to have this new line of thought, I got to tell you, in my 20 years of being a professional stand-up comedian, I've never had audiences be so wanting my voice. And I think that is because of this. No, everyone is equal. We all get to be heard. You know, so there's part of me that's like, thank you, millennials, because I used to walk on stage and the audience would go like this. If a man walked on stage, they go, oh, I wonder what he has to say. A woman would walk on stage, they go, oh, a woman. Oh, a woman. Yeah.
So and I've noticed women fucking doing that in the audience.
The worst. They do it. Like the worst. They're so, because we have this weird, like, competitive nature that has been taught to us.
Oh, it's wolf-like. It's wolf-like, that competitive nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so ridiculous because I'm like, oh my God, if we just had a network like the dudes have, this is why we're pitted against each other. But anyway, it's just so interesting. So I am like, I want to be able to be free to say whatever I want. And I still feel there is it can happen. But then also part of me is like, thanks for being this voice, because audiences are learning now that, you know, we want to hear different things, different stories, different lives. And so now instead of getting a boo before I talk, I'm sometimes getting cheers. And I got to tell you, I'm not really used to that as a female in comedy. I'm like, oh, there's no battle out of the gate. Yeah. Well, isn't this interesting? So I am grateful for their, but at times I'm like, a brownie joke.
Yeah, it spills over a little bit, like relax.
Yes. Relax. Yeah. So it's an interesting time, but it's all cyclical. Human behavior is cyclical. And I feel like this is just a movement in comedy. Also, like, I kind of feel like, I don't know how you feel, Tom, and I'm talking out of my wheelhouse. But I feel like right now there's a big movement in comedy for stories and thoughts and opinions. And I think give us 5 years and people are just going to want punchlines and jokes again. I feel it's cyclical. There's always a movement.
Absolutely. I absolutely see that. And I found myself, when you can feel it in an audience, they want more from what I'm saying here, right here. So the next night it expands. There's an extra 15 seconds on it. And then you find, and wind chimes, I'll drop that bit in because and then I'm going to pick this bit. Yeah. And before you know it, you now have a fucking story. And I think that's how it evolves. For me, that's how it's evolved. But I think you're 100% right. It is absolutely cyclical how it comes around. But more power to, like, I 100% agree with that. It is great that people are piping up and it isn't just the run of the mill, the samey. Because I definitely have found myself changing over the years, because you're like, you can't be the same. Do you know what's gas about being a bloke? Fuck that. You know what I mean? But it's so liberating inside my head, because a whole box opened in my head and went, oh, look at all these crazy thoughts that are in here. Let's throw them out to people and see what they think.
There you go.
It benefited me, because now I'm this alter ego of, well, I say alter ego. It's probably my actual ego. It's just going, fucking come have a look inside my head.
Yeah. And it does open it up for us. And there are more things that we can say. So people are like, well, the PC Brigade. And I'm like, yeah, I get you. But I don't know. It's interesting. I guess, too, it's fun for us because we grow as comedians, and to see the industry and audiences changing, I feel we need to embrace that and enjoy it rather than being like, like I didn't get mad at that woman. You know what I did? I was like, well, you know what? You have a right to feel how you want to feel. And hey, the fact that you feel that you can share that right, what a glorious world we live in. As a woman, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to say that, sister. So if anyone's disrespecting females right now, I think it's you cutting me off in the middle of my job. But that's just my opinion. Right? Like, I was like, that's cool. But yeah. And good on her for having the guts to just, like, because people were booing her. I was like, wow, this is going to turn into a riot. This is hilarious. All over me talking about brownie badges. Anyway, that's
at least she gave you something. Like, when you do a gig and you just get somebody who's just out, like the
woman who just said no to you. No.
Oh, that wasn't even the worst. There was another crazy lady sitting in the front who was just shouting, and even all her family members were out with her. She was just shouting, and when she was referenced to by the host, now she quietened down by the time I was on. But she was just shouting things like, "I have 5 children." It's like, okay, all right.
Should you have had that many children is the real question we should be asking here. Yeah, let's be honest. Yeah. Don't mind me. I'm just ducking my head. I realized that my power source has fallen out of my computer. It continues on, Tom. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I do think sometimes the PC Brigade, it's blown out of proportion. It's not that, like, the heavily PC who get just, when they say, oh, people get offended by everything, they fucking don't. What I found is about 97% of people are like, whatever, I've got a mortgage to pay. I'm just here to leave my brain at the door if I can, please.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be hungry after this. So that's going to be my next big thing for me. So right now, can we just do this hour and a half of just you talking things at me? Yeah. And you may get the 3%. You go, nobody else really cares. I know you're shouting quite loud. I'm not shouting loud because I just want to leave my brain at home.
Yes. And it's interesting because if we look at it this way, that 3% that want to voice their opinion and be like, I don't agree with this. Technically, what they are doing is also the right of what we're fighting for, is to be able to say what we think.
No, thank you. So,
like, they're just saying what they think. So it's like, I hear your thought. I acknowledge it. Am I going to change my thought? No, but thank you for sharing. Let's continue. Like, it is an interesting, freedom of speech across the board. So it's wild to see. I don't know. And people's, I don't know, audiences now to me are just such an interesting. I feel we need to embrace the change more than ever and just look at it and be in it and see what it is, especially right after the pandemic. Let's talk about this. Wasn't that wild? Because how many years have you been doing stand-up for now? May I ask? I don't know your...
13 years.
13 years. Yeah. Okay. And in that 13 years, I mean, have you ever taken an 18-month break?
I've never taken more than a 4-day break.
Exactly.
So it was like...
since I started, like, it's like is every week I have to do stand-up in some capacity, right? Even when I was a beginner, it was like, look for the open mics or go do it at a karaoke night or just somehow be able to do it. And then to have that much time off. And then when we went back to it, it was like, you know your job, you know what you're supposed to do, but it's like you showed up to the work site without any of the real tools. Like you were just like, okay, I'm here to fix the roof.
I was rusty.
Normally, I didn't even bring my ladder. Like, I don't even have my ladder right now, guys. I'm sorry. Like, it was weird. And then think about the audience who hadn't been an audience for that long.
They were sitting. I did one in Galway, the first one, and it was last summer. So I'd only gone about a little over a year. But I say I only gone a little over a year. So at least I did do some last. Now it was in an open-sided tenty thing, but I was in my head, my brain, the naivety and the ego maniac in my brain went, "This is fine. I've done these things. This is gonna be great." I got there. And all the tools I brought, Alison, all were stuck together with rust. And I was, but thankfully I had enough maturity to go, oh, this is going to be shit, by the way. I just had to look inside my head. This is going to be, but I said, in fairness to you, it looks like you don't, people were sitting sideways. People didn't know what to do with themselves. They were like, "Well, hello, sir." It was just weird.
So weird. Yeah. Yeah. And there's still anxiety about people. Like some people are like, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm scared. You know, some people, need to wear their mask the whole time. Some people wanted to get their masks off. Some people just want to be licking faces. Other people are like, I still feel there should be some, like, there's all this weird anxiety in the air too. And to me, I was like, as a comedian in this job, we're probably never going to have another moment like that in time. So that process again of restarting and becoming and finding it again was so fascinating to me. It was just and I think we all changed because of it. And I think that's a good thing. We hit the road again with a fresh start. Even if you were saying jokes that you were like, oh my God, I can't, because I don't know about you, but there were some jokes that like, I mean, I'm been doing for a while. Hey, my jokes are my babies. I have no shame in re-saying jokes because you know what? I want an audience to laugh. That's my job as a comic. So yes, I'm always trying to change, but I have no shame in saying jokes that I have said before. If I think this audience is going to like this joke, they're going to get it.
They deserve it. They deserve it, Alison.
Yes.
Why would you keep it away from them?
What? Oh, because I'm an artist and I need to grow? Yes, I get that. But also, this audience paid money. And you know what? I'm going to tell them that I look like Ricki Lake and I'm not going to feel fucking bad about it. Right?
I'm gonna get around to, that was one of them.
That's the moment where we bonded because doing that show and I said the Ricki Lake line, which, I thought it's so, but I remember the first time I did it in Ireland and it hit so hard. And I was like, oh, people remember and love Ricki out here. Well, I'm never not going to say it again. Like and literally every time I say it, people are like, oh, Ricki. And I'm like, yes, Ireland, keep her memory alive. I mean, she's still alive, but like the Ricki, and it was so fun. So for me, I'm like, I'm always going to fucking say it when I'm there. But I would start to do jokes after not doing it for 18 months. And I would I don't know if you do this, you'd start it and then go, oh, well, where does this go now? I don't know the punchline. I'll try and find something. Like it was like treading water. It was like treading water the whole time. I was like, I don't even know. Is this funny? I hope so. Oh, they're laughing. It was so bizarre. And then I walked off stage and then hindsight's all 2020. Then you're like, oh, I forgot this. I forgot that. I forgot that. I forgot all the jokes. Isn't that wild? Well, I did 20 minutes tap dancing. it was so weird. Yeah. But again, a moment in time we're never going to have again, I hope. So I'm going to remember that. Yeah.
The brand new coming back, the first time coming back when I didn't realize my brain was going to go rusty. So at least when we got locked down again and we had to come back again, at least I was kind of prepared. I brought WD-40. You know what I mean? It was like, okay. But what I found, it's funny you say that. A joke that I thought it was fine, it was done, and it was ready to be. It was always ready. I forgot the punchline, and I ended up kind of fudging a new punchline, and it hit harder than any time I've ever told that joke before. So it was like, oh, thank you, brain, thank you. So this is what happens when I put you under pressure. Great.
the challenge of it all sometimes makes us and you know what, I think there's a beauty in that too, because I know comics go, oh, I've retired that. I don't say that anymore. I'm done with that. Okay, cool. But again, I'm a believer in, if a group looks like they are going to enjoy it, say it. And also, I don't ever believe anything's ever done. Like,
No.
I don't believe you ever just put it to bed and be like, and that is complete, because we change, life change, the world changes. And so jokes and stories and everything changes, and it's always growing and different. So I don't believe in putting to bed, being done with that. I've never been. And because of that, look at, you said a joke that you're like, oh, this is a joke. This is one of my solids. It'll for sure be good. Great. You got there, you couldn't find, and then your brain went, what about this?
Yeah.
And that's so inspiring and exciting too.
It was but I mean, there's a lot to be said for, yes, you can go. I've had people, I did a gig maybe 3-4 weeks. It was probably 4 weeks ago. And there was a couple in the audience. So, will you do the bit? As I'm walking in, and it was a bit from like 6-7 years ago about being in Amsterdam. I went, fuck, I don't know how that goes. And your man was like, no, there was that bit where and I went, I referenced this during it. I went, for John and Anne-Marie, I'm going to tell the joke about when I was in Amsterdam. They're probably going to need to help me. And but there was a beautiful moment. It was like, I think for me, definitely since coming back, I don't feel as much the performer on audience anymore. I feel, I still do. Obviously, I'm there to do what they want me to do. But at the same, I'm feeling like there's a bit of a virtual warm hug. And we're all kind of, are we all in this together? Because they could fucking tell us to go home at any point. Can we all have a good time?
Yeah.
So there's a symbiosis kind of happening where people are going, we're out. Should we be out? We don't know if we should be out. Let's all get in it together. I'm finding myself enjoying being in the presence of people more than I think I appreciated before. Because, you're in your head going, right, these fuckers, I'm going to tell these fuckers jokes and they better fucking laugh. Now I'm kind of going, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see where we end up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's an excitement to that, and we miss that, and we didn't have that for so long. And I think there's a lot of us that do a lot of growing and writing on stage, like you said. That is the beauty of having these rooms, that maybe it's not about money, it's about just being able to go and play around and fuck about and try an idea, and that's what a new material night is, and there's such it's so important to continue to do that. But I think it's realizing that we can do that. Like I say, do your good stuff, make the audience happy. But like, when you just give a little bit less of a shit and like take some more chances and not, then we also find some other things within ourselves too, which I've struggled with. I mean, I admit it. I think for so many years, not wanting to ever put a bad foot forward.
Oh yeah.
Being a girl, and always wanted to be like, boom, boom, boom. You go through so many years. And then when I moved from one country to another, it was like, I felt like my first 3 years in the UK, and then it's like a showcase season, right? Like every time you're in a new club, you don't want to mess up, because you're like, good foot forward, good foot forward. And now clubs and a lot of shows are looking for females and different voices, different cultures. But back then it was a little bit trickier, and it's not their fault. Audiences were a little bit different too. They had their ideas of what they felt comfortable with. And I think that's what's changed a lot, is people are used to maybe being out of their comfort zone with hearing things. Yeah. So it gives us, like we said before, a chance to grow a little bit as well. And it's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
Where did the decision to move from Canada then? Because Canadians, there's a brilliant plethora of brilliant Canadians. You're a funny bunch of fuckers. There's...
Should we say I'm Canadian right out of the gate so people don't turn this podcast off? Because it was funny. The first time I went to the Laughter Lounge, my other fellow Canadian comedian, Paul Meyerhog, my very good buddy who I started with, and he was like, hey, Al, just be sure to say you're Canadian out of the gate. They'll probably figure it out, but you just got a lot more favor if you're from Canada as opposed to America.
Don't worry, I'll be putting it at the top of the show notes. Canadian comedian.
And I was like, really? And he's like, oh yeah, genuinely. And I was like, great. So like, I dropped that bomb pretty quick, and everyone's like, no, letting everyone know you're a Canadian. Hey, yeah, because I am, and I'm gonna let them know. But I think, Canadians. I think it's very similar to Ireland though, because, and I might be wrong, so please correct me if I am. But if you want to be a comic in Canada, you get ready to travel a lot. Okay. So you travel distances. You go to places to perform for other groups of people. Like you're used to going places as opposed to them coming to you.
Yes.
Right. It's a lot of going to a small town, going to this place, and like long hours of travel. And because of that, and we have a smaller population, you guys got a high population. That might be the difference, but we have a smaller population. So Canada, less people, further distances. So if you want to be a comedian, it's because it's what you want to do. It's not really the most lucrative path. And it's a lot of hard, gross travel. It's like being a joker with trucks, as my one friend says. That's what it feels like sometimes. And I think people see comedians on TV and they go, oh, and I'm like, okay, if you want to be on TV, that's cool. But if you want to be a comedian, that can often be very different.
Yes.
It's a different beast. So I think in Canada, we learn if you want to do it, it's because you want to do it. And then when we get to an environment where there's a bunch of shows and a lot more people, it's crazy to us because we've worked so hard trying to like cultivate this small little entertainment market that we have, that we're just so, it just seems like a playground a little bit. Like,
because you do all seem fit coming out of the gate. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, right, the Canadian, because I suppose you've been fighting heavyweights, and all of a sudden now you're dropped in, not for the want of a better phrase, but you know what I mean? You've come out of a hard knock school kind of in a way where you got to cultivate your own fun, and your own environment.
Yes.
You land in, you're like, right, oh, you've done all the work for me.
This is already exactly. That's a great way of putting it, Tom. That's a great way of putting it, because that's exactly what it felt like. And I mean, added little bonus over in Canada, if you're headlining, you're doing 45 minutes to 45 to an hour. So most clubs is 45 minimum and then beyond. And you've also done a show with no breaks. We don't have intervals, and it just goes straight on through. So it's like the MC comes on, MC does 15 minutes, then they bring on what they call the middle act. The middle act does 30. Then the MC goes on again, does another 10 minutes, which is basically the washroom break. So people will pee and do things and order drink, and drinks are being ordered. Food is being delivered. All of this is going on while the show's going on. And then you come on to close and do 45 minutes. And then you come to the UK, Ireland, all these places. And it's like, okay, so you're going to do 20 minutes. And we're going to give them a break. Then they're going to go out and smoke and chat. Then they're going to come back. And I'm like, they're not coming back. No, everyone comes back. They come back. They sit down. Then they watch another 20-minute set. It just seemed like it blew my mind. And then the concept of being able to do more than one of these gigs a night in different places. Are you kidding me? Like Liverpool, Warrington, Manchester, I can do in one night. That I don't know that world. That is
phenomenal. Yeah, it's 3 different places. That's incredible.
It's so exciting. I mean, yeah, there's the stress of travel sometimes and whatnot, but just to even have that as an option, like the closest you come to that in Canada was if the club did 2 shows in a night, which great. But again, those numbers have dropped down too. So, I mean, there's never, and to do it to different audiences, that's fun too. Like that is because you could go to one and you walk away from that gig and let's say it went great, right? You had a fantastic gig. So you're riding off that high. Woo. You walk into gig number 2. It's a different energy. You're starting from scratch. Don't you be bringing that positivity from before. You are at 0 again. So, because if you walk in and start fucking strutting the stuff and doing the old peacock dance, because they just look at you like, what the fuck is this? Like, you have not gained our approval yet. So it's like reset within a few times in a night. And that, again, is a really fun process to learn as a comedian.
Yeah. I don't want to run away from that we brushed on by Ricki Lake joke that night. It was my favorite joke of the whole night. It just hit me right in the chest. You heard me howling like a fucking drain down the back, like by myself, like just.
It made me so happy though, because I could tell the laugh that you gave. That was when I was like, oh, hello. And I instantly think that's when I was like, because I've known you, we met, but I was like, nope, that's my friend. He's a friend because he is laughing from his cockles on that one. Like that, it was such a pure, and your laugh and your joy, literally, I could feel it trickling. And then people just lost their shit because they were feeling so much So like that moment for me, that meant so much. And I have to say, like,
good.
That moment with you for me is the clearest moment of that whole night. Yeah. For me, because I was thinking about things and in my head and trying to figure it out and watching the other people. But that for me was my one Zen moment. And the fact that I got to share it with you and you laughed so hard, it wouldn't have even mattered the joke. It was just for me, that made my night to know. I don't know. It was a nice moment for me.
Good. Well, the fact that I've allowed an obnoxious laugh, but when something like hits like a hammer, which that did, it was like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. It was so on the money. It was like, because when somebody, I still love the joy of a joke when somebody, it's almost like it's almost like the skin on top of a scratch card.
Yeah.
It's under there. You don't know it's under there, but when somebody scrapes it off and there's a picture of Ricki Lake, you know what I mean? And you go, yes, fucking yes. I've been looking at her for 15 minutes and she just, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for Christ's sake.
You're like, I got it. Yes. Yeah. It was, really made me laugh. Really made me laugh. That was fun for me to see you enjoy that so much. I was like, thank you. And then it trickled to everyone else. Your laugh and that energy is actually, I don't know if you know this or not, but Shakespeare wrote a lot of comedies and he used to hire, they were called clackers, and they were loud laughers. And he would plant them in the audience and pay them to encourage the rest of the people to jump on board. Because a good laugh encourages everyone else and makes everyone else go, no, we are having fun. So you would have been a clacker. Yeah, you're a natural born clacker.
And an infectious laugh. Infectious, which in today's fucking climate probably doesn't sound like a great thing. Like, but you had been a teacher prior to as well. You had taught, didn't you?
Yeah. I was yeah.
You, my friends that have gone into comedy have been teachers. Now, one in particular was Pat McDonald. I don't know if you ever met him, but Pat was very famous for being on a TV show called Father Ted years ago.
Oh my God, Father Ted. Fantastic.
Yeah. But Pat was a teacher, and his story of how it broke him, it wasn't the kids that broke him, even though it was a really rough school. It was the mundaneness of these teachers that he was working with.
Yeah.
And there was one point where he's sitting there just staring at, like, sitting in the staff room, just staring at the wall, and he's opening up his lunchbox, and his teacher colleague is looking, going, "Oh, is that a sandwich there? Fair play. Tell me this now, when you use tomato, is it?" And he's going, "What is this fucking conversation about?" And he's like, "See, when I make a sandwich now with tomato," and the guy just starts talking off into the air, "what I like to do is wrap it in a bit of lettuce." And he literally put the lid back on the box, walked up to the principal, and just went, "That's it, I'm done. I
gotta go." Wow.
I broke him in half. He was like, "That's, I just have to go. I cannot. I'm going to murder if that's the case." But Pat is an angry man. That's the only thing I will say. He has that gene inbuilt in him where he's a lovely guy, but there's fury in there somewhere. What was... Did you have half and half? Did you walk away with a sad heart, or were you like, screw that guy? Yeah.
Oh, well, I went into it knowing I wasn't going to do it. Look, the only reason, I went into it knowing I wasn't going to do it.
While I'm here, I'm not doing this. I'm just letting you all know. This is
literally. So I always wanted to be an actress. That was my big thing, right? When I heard Joan Rivers' story that she wanted to be an actress and she never thought she was pretty enough, so she started to do stand up, I was like, oh my God, Joan Rivers and I are the same human being. Because literally, I was like, I always wanted to act. I did drama all throughout school. It's what saved my life. It was the only thing I was good at. It was the only thing I was good at. And that's why, as a teacher, I think the only thing that I really wanted to impart was that you need to find what it is your love is. If you figure out early on what you like to do, then you can design the rest of your life around that.
Yeah.
Drama was the thing that got me through school. I was so bad academically. I don't even know how I got into university. I got into university and then I was like, okay, I'll take theater. And then my parents, bless them, they were like, well, for one more year, you could get an education degree and then maybe you could be a drama teacher. And I was like, you know what? All right. Like, I get it, guys.
Crowbar in that teacher shit.
Yeah. I had done a lot of stuff with kids as a drama person. You're always teaching workshops, so I was like, you bet, let's do this. So threw it in, and then I graduated, and then everyone was like, oh, you're ready to become, that teacher? And I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. But then, so I went on my first interview so I got offered an interview for a high school drama teacher, right? So 15 to 18-year-olds, only drama. That was it. And this is a dream job for a lot of people. And I got offered an interview and I was like, and I didn't really want it. was my first interview out of university. I took my university portfolio, and I went in and I did the interview, you know, and I gave it my all. I looked at it as an experiment, right? I was like, okay, let's try and be charming. And then an hour later, I got called and offered the job.
Fuck.
And I was like, oh, no. This is because they're like, oh, brand new graduate. She's going to work her little hiney off. Yes, we're going to pay her nothing. She's going to work so hard. And I was like, oh my God. So my dad was like, just do 1 year. Again, the voices of reason, right? Just do 1 year of it. And then you can go and figure out what you want. And I was like, oh God. So I took the job, but then I thought, okay, I don't want to be angry at myself. I don't want to be disappointed in myself. I want to be a performer.
Yes.
What can I do that I could do while I was teaching? Because look, to be an actor, you have to audition, you have to look a part, you have to be a part. It depends on a lot of other things.
Yeah.
If you want to be an actor, it's very out of your hands a lot of the time. So I was like, what's something that I could do? And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll try stand-up comedy. And I turned on the TV and there was this like, I don't know, it was like She's So Funny. It was a Canadian TV show. And it was a showcase of female comedians. And I was like watching them and I was like, yeah, I think I could do this. Like, yeah, okay. So then I was like, I wonder how you start. So there was one club in Calgary. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It was a Yuck Yucks Comedy Club, which is a chain of clubs in Canada. So I phoned them up and I said, how does one become a comedian? How do you do this? And they were like, well, what's your story? And I was like, I'm a drama teacher and performer, you know. And they're like, okay, well, we have an amateur night on Tuesdays you could come to. And before the amateur night, we do a workshop where the headline act that week will just talk for like an hour about their experiences, about being a comic. So it was kind of like you got a little free workshop and then you go and, sign up to do the amateur night. So I thought, okay. So I started teaching on a Tuesday and I started stand-up comedy on the same Tuesday. It was September 3rd. Yeah, I'll never forget it. September 3rd, 2000. And I did my school teaching and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this workshop. And I went to the workshop and I was the only girl there. And so it was a guy named Damon Schritter who did the workshop. And then at the end, they draw out of a hat. But because I was the only girl, they're like, do you want to go? Like, we don't get a lot of girls coming to do stand-up. Do you want to try? So I went and did my first 5 minutes. And the moment I did it, that no fourth wall, that's what did it for me. I was like, oh, it's me and you. And as a performer, I'd always loved the audience. I love the relationship with the audience. But like, this was a direct, if you don't like me, you don't like me. Like,
yes, yeah. I can't blame the director or the writer. This is
yeah. And it was, it was an experience that I'll never forget. It was magical, and I just was like, "Yep, this is what I'm doing." So then, that same day of teaching, this is so funny because I remember I sat down with the class, and so that night I was going to go do the workshop. And my first day, and it was like, we all sit in a circle because that's what you do in drama. It was a grade 11 class first. And I was like, good morning, my name is Miss Smith. I'm your new drama teacher. I just want you to know out of the gate that I'm only doing it this year. You're only going to have me for 1 year. I don't want to be a full-time teacher, but I've taken this job. I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. I'm going to pursue comedy. So if you make it easy on me, I'm going to make it easy on you.
Screw you guys.
And they were like, I'm sorry. Like, imagine a group of like 16-year-olds just like, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, no, like, I'm going to be your teacher and like, I have to grade you and everything, but don't worry. I'm not going to give you any homework. Everything we do is going to be in class. I just need you to be here. And that's what we're going to do.
I would love to teach you like that. Just coming in, listen, I'm here to get paid.
This is it. 1 year. You only get me this year. You can get the best of me. We can make this beautiful. Let's do it. And kids who test you in the beginning, I swear to God, by the end of the year, it was like, I was Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds. Like, they would do anything for me. I was like, yeah, you going to mess with me? One time I had kids break into the drama room and steal speakers. And I did an announcement on the PA later on in school. I was like, hi, this is Miss Smith from the drama department. I'm just saying to all the students in the building that my speakers have gone missing out of the drama room. Look, I'm not coming after you. I don't know why you've taken them. I'm not going to judge you, but if you could please return them by the end of the day, that would really be appreciated. I got to school the next day and the speakers were outside the drama room.
Oh my God.
I know my dangerous mind kids were like, you don't steal from Miss Smith. No. And I stuck to my word. I did the 1 year. Then I became a supply teacher. I was a substitute teacher for about 5 years because I'm also practical. I wanted to do stand-up, but I needed to make money.
Yes.
So I built the two up. And as soon as stand-up started to make a bit more money than, supply teaching, I was like, okay, less supply teaching, less. And then the moment I could, the first chance I really had, I jumped ship. And I'll tell you, I think it was the best thing I ever did. And I encourage everyone, if you feel that you are not happy in your job, you got to make some changes. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck. The principal, when I left that school, she was like, what if I was to offer you like, a better contract or guarantee you time off so you could go on tour? And I just looked at her and I said, I feel if I don't do this now, I may never. And she looked at me and she was like, good for you, because you won't. Good for you.
Yeah.
It was almost like a test. And I was like, nah, I gotta. And she was like, yeah, okay, get out. Yeah, it was great. It was great. So that was why I got into comedy. And I loved teaching, though. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love inspiring. I think I just like inspiring people to like figure out whatever their thing's going to be, because I struggled so much with that throughout my life that I know there are kids that did get inspired by something I said to them along the way. And it makes me really happy to know that I had that position to do that. And sometimes I hope with comedy that trickles off somewhere. Maybe someone gets a chuckle about something that they needed to have a chuckle about. That's why subject matter, sometimes people are like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do jokes about this or that. I feel if it's a part of my life, I'm going to do jokes about it. If it's my life, I have every right to do a joke about it. And for all those people that maybe don't like it or feel something's wrong, someone may get something out of that. So that's the importance of doing, your story to its fullest.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Again, I mean, there has to be, I suppose people have to allow for the fact that it's coming out of your head. I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to. And I mean, I've had, very rarely it doesn't happen, but you'll have the odd person come up and they want to have a discussion about a thing. You're like, can I direct you to the boss? Because I'm off the clock now.
I'm done. I'm done. And like, I'm glad you have an opinion, but my job is to get paid to share mine, not to listen to yours. I'm going to go.
And it's not a TED talk. We're here to tell some silly, silly jokes. We're here to talk silly things. It is from life experiences and whatnot, but it's got a bit of polish on it too at the same time. Come on, like.
Yeah, I guess I say from my perspective, because what I feel too is, and I don't want to get all political, but for me, I feel I have the right to talk about anything that is my life, anything that is me, my world, what I go through, I have every right to express whatever opinion I want because it's my life. Now, I'm not the comic that I start to give opinions of others' lives.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people want to get into that. That is not what I do. Eyes on my page, do jokes about my life, my page, my things. And I feel I should be able to say it how, whatever angle, use whatever words, depending, of course, on the gig. Hey, I'm a big corporate worker. I do a lot of corporate
absolutely.
Gigs where
Yeah.
I will not offend. Hey, you want me to be charming and nice, and that's great. But, in a comedy club or where I will say whatever I want about my life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did over the lockdown, I mean, how did you find the online side of things then? Because I mean, obviously, because you've the podcast as well.
Yeah.
I mean, do you reckon, because I came out, like, it was pointed out to me that, God, yes, I was rusty and everything else, but there was at least something coming out of my face and I looked joyful to be there rather than a scared cat, with a gun pointed at him. But it was pointed out to me by the booker. He's like, you can tell you're podcasting a lot and chat to a lot of people online. He says, because a lot of boys and girls in comedy, they haven't talked to fucking anybody in a year, and you can see it. They're like,
yes.
So hi. Whereas I'd loads to say, it was just shit. Do you know? It was just shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
I actually feel, it's interesting. I was thinking about this just the other day because the podcast. So we started Women Talking Bollocks during WTB, Women Talking Bollocks. We started it during the beginning of the because we thought, okay, well, this is the time, and of course everyone was like, let's do a podcast. But what was really great was I'm working with two great comedians, Maureen Younger and then Jen Brister, she's done Live with Apollo. She's killer. And she connected us with a producer. So for us, I was like, okay, we're seriously going into things. And I wanted that and I needed that. And it was so great. And what I found is with the podcast, and then also I've started to do, it's an online, it's through Back Channel is the name of it, backchannel.tv. It's a interactive morning radio show. So basically, you can speak directly. It's mainly in the States in LA. I do it 11 to 1 with another comedian named Haley Ellis. But because I've been talking so much, there's been so much chat, like it's podcasts or it's the radio show or I feel that online, all that work has actually helped me find my voice in an even different level than I would have known if I was just doing jokes and doing stand-up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. In a weird kind of, just to compliment that, in a weird way, I had a conversation with myself on a podcast. Genuinely, I was talking where I combined the brain of a hen in the body of a violent cat and just talked ad nauseum for 15 to 20 minutes about the properties that animal would have and how they would fuck up everything because hens are lethal, just absolute dinosaurs with the body of a cat. But when would I get the chance to ever, I would be arrested walking down the street for saying that out loud, but I'm definitely going to make a bit out of it because I know there's 100, something in there. Yep.
And because you're able to just let that free flow out and let that aspect of your brain and even just who you think you are, your life experiences. I just feel like this is a whole different medium that, again, I sought to embrace. But look, I'm about making money, right? I'm about making money at comedy too. And I knew right away there would still be businesses that would need to have corporate gigs. And I knew those corporate gigs would be online. And I know that they would still do it because where I came from, again, in Canada, you do comedy because you love it. And then you do some gigs because you want the money.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Corporate gigs where you clean it up, you best foot forward, always non-offensive, right? It's more of a humorous engagement. I like to call them. I did a humorous engagement for a whack of money. And you do that. And I thought, there's still going to be that online. And I actually I did okay last Christmas doing a lot of teacher conventions for teachers in Canada. Because this makes it international. I did a show last Friday at 2 a.m. for a club in Canada and that was after I came home from my gig that I actually did in Manchester. And I was like,
put on my slippers and do another gig.
Exactly. Yeah. Throw in some sausage rolls and they will cook while I'm gigging. It is an amazing thing to me. I think it's great. So I did every online gig I could. I sought them out. I tried to create a little bit of something. And I do think it helped a lot because there were guys who were because some guys were like, oh, I can't get into online. It's not the same thing. Well, no, it's not.
Oh, no, because you ain't doing straight stand-up.
It's not the same thing.
No.
Yeah, it's intimate and it's because it's this, what we're doing right now. It's just the face. But to me, I was like, well, there's a million things you can say and jokes you can do that wouldn't have worked on the big stage. But here, they work so well.
Yeah. Hence why I built this. This is what I built this outside. So if I turn that around, that whole wall is that.
Oh my God, you've got a whole little studio inside. Oh yeah, I
built the fucking thing outside. I was like, I need to do something. I'm talking with a friend of mine who's a very, very successful podcast who hasn't had to leave the house in 5 years anyway. It's a conspiracy podcast, but it's comedy conspiracy, He was like, man, you have to. You just have to, because I worked in construction for years. He goes, for the love of Christ, you can surely build. I went, oh yeah, I can build a box, all right.
And that's exactly it. I had a half a closet. That's what this is. On the other side is my where I keep my clothes and I get ready. And my father-in-law built like a structure so I can pull all the sound curtains around and just did soundproofing. So I built a little sound studio because I was like, gonna need it. But I love your whole room where you also have a green screen and a soundproof,
it's all soundproof, the whole thing. So nobody like nobody can hear me screaming here. Like, you know what I mean? But I do love the idea of
you
the door.
built that room before, didn't you? That room's been there for a while.
We're actually underground.
It.
We're underground, Alison. I do like the idea though, if you had a door behind, like if it was a door behind you and you actually stood out to the audience, you know, but to applause, like canned laughter, like, hey, just
pull it back and there's the live audience. Hey,
yeah.
Oh God, it's so funny.
Anyway, I know you have another engagement. We've been bouncing back and forth, so I know you have another engagement coming up very shortly. Where is the best place for people to find Allyson June Smith? Obviously, you have the WTB podcasts everywhere. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, so go down, have a look at that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And then I try to keep, I'm the worst. I've been trying to get a lot better. But my website is always, links to any shows that I'm doing, you can find on my website, www.allisonjunesmith.com. But like, I always post things too on Twitter, which I believe is Allyson J. Oh my God, I should know this stuff. Anyway, it's Allyson June Smith. You'll find me. And Allyson is spelt weird. I'll bring that up though.
I like it.
Allyson. My grandma did not like an I. She thought a Y looked more posh. She's from Manchester. When I was born, she was like, no, the Y makes it posh. I was like, all right, lady from Hume.
Then I was getting notions, but it's
she had big dreams for me. And here I fucking am. 2 L's and a Y, and then you'll be able to find me. Just put Canadian comedian Allyson. I think I'm the only one you'll find. Or type in Ricki Lake. It's pretty much it's me and her.
I would love you to meet Ricki Lake. I would love Ricki Lake to meet you and go, oh my God.
Well, I know we're leaving, but side note, I actually have a half sister that my mother, she had a baby, gave her up for adoption, and we met her. But before we met her, I used to think, I will eat my shirt if Ricki Lake is not my sister. Like, I used to think Ricki Lake is my fucking house. She's my sister. I know she is. She's not, everyone. But I went for a few years being like, do I try to contact my sister? I swear. I mean, look at this face. We are Rick. It's crazy. Anyway.
Allyson, this has been an absolute joy. Thanks a million.
Oh, thank you so much. My absolute pleasure.